Pick the Saturday.
On a scale of 0 to 100, with increments of 10 only, so it might as well have been 1 to 10 on here. On a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 means you feel as cold and negative as possible, and 100 means you feel as warm and positive as possible, how do I feel towards Democrats? And how do I feel towards Republicans?
So on a scale of 0 to 100 for Republicans.
Yeah, I'm going to give Democrats a 60 and Republicans a 40. I don't immediately dislike somebody because they're a Republican. It's just by the time it comes up that they're a Republican, normally we're talking about a topic I would just assume not be a part of.
Yeah.
But I think I talk to lots of people who are Republican, and I don't even think twice about it. I don't. I mean, half my family's Republican. I don't.
Yeah. See, the way I immediately read this question was like the national parties, Democrats, and like sort of the politicians. But you're right. I think that's an incorrect reading. I think your reading is correct, that it's like towards Democrats.
Towards Democrats as a party and Republicans as a party, I'm going to give them both 0.
Right, exactly. And I was all set to say that, but I think you actually had it right the first time. I think this is actually supposed to be, I think I misread it. So
yeah, and I think it solely comes down to if I meet somebody new and I find out that they're either conservative or liberal. If they're a conservative person, I automatically know that there is potential for some sort of disagreement in our relationship. And so that's why they get the markdown. They don't get the markdown because I hate you and I think you all should burn in double hockey sticks. It's just probably the same reasons that they do it. But I like to think as a person, I still keep it pretty middle, because really your political view has very little to do with drawing pictures and watching movies about laser beams, which is really what I'm mostly interested in.
Yeah. So I guess for Democrats, I'd say like 50, like average. I don't. Okay. If you're a Democrat, I feel neutrally towards you. Republicans, that's trickier because, like, here's the thing. A lot of times when I interact with Republicans, I'm immediately like concerned because just factually, more Republicans than don't have like views towards trans people I would consider abhorrent. So like once I'm know I'm talking,
a Republican's going to beat me up for being a middle-aged cisgender white.
Right. Like, so once I know I'm talking to someone who is a Republican, but who, you know, isn't prejudiced, then that's like, you know, then my feeling is 50. But like, if all I know, so I guess I'd say like 30, because that is, I think, about the percentage of the Republican Party that doesn't have what I would consider really bad views towards trans people.
Yeah, and plus,
and
on
I
top
think
of
most.
That,
go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I was just going to ask you, on top of that, even when you do find out they're okay with you and you're going to have an okay relationship, I'm sure you still harbor the thought that they might just be placating you.
Well, that's exactly it, because like, I've met a lot of people who have, like, if you really drill down and have long conversations with them, have views that I think are really bad, but they express it politely because they're not insane. You know, I've met one person who really
need more of.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a lot better than the alternative, right? And I think most people are perfectly like capable of being civil toward. I've met one person who like, I knew their name, strangers and stuff. That's a different story. But one person who I didn't have a close relationship with, but basically they found out I was trans and just like posted a bunch of abuse on my Facebook. Right. But like that person was an alcoholic with a horrible life. Like that person had some serious problems. I think normal people, you know, I can be civil even if their views suck, but I still feel icky if I'm talking to someone who like, well, they're being polite, but I'm like, okay, like I'm happy they're being polite, but also that's kind of just the baseline, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure you can feel somewhat violated. You let this person in, and now they They took
Right.
the information that they got from you. Once they found out enough, they took the other stuff that you let them in on and used it against you. And that's something to defend yourself. A lot of people
Yeah.
defend themselves against that. Well, look at the amount of people in the world that do it against the other sex. Look
Sure.
how many dudes are out there going like, oh, women are just out to get you. And women are out there going, all dudes are dogs. I mean,
So
yeah,
true.
people are
But
terrible.
I mean,
Don't
the
put on
number of
armor, people.
the number of Republicans in my life who I am like friendly with is like one. you know, like like I
Now, we're
don't.
still trying to get rid of that one.
Yeah, apparently, but like I really don't let Republicans in general because I don't know. I don't know how they feel usually.
All right. Okay. So that was how do we feel towards Democrats and Republicans? I said 60-40. Kara said 50-30.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So next one. Which of these statements best describes your opinion about the United States? The U.S. stands above all other countries in the world. The U.S. is one of the greatest countries in the world, along with some others. Or there are other countries that are better than the U.S.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
None of these really represent.
Remember which one, even if it's not exactly right.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. No, but this is trickier in that regard than others.
For me, it is not tricky. For me, it is easily number one. I mean, number two. Sorry. The United States is one of the greatest countries in the world, along with some others. We are trying. It's hard to lose sight of what the rest of the world is up to. While there are a handful or two handfuls of other countries that are trying things like us in a progressive, forward-thinking way, there are a lot of places that just aren't. I'm going to say of the top 10 countries in this world that I'd feel good about being born into them, I was born into one of them, and I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, okay, how do you define greatness, right? Because I think even if you get apart from, the money question, like we easily have the highest standard of living per capita. Well, I don't know if that's true, but we're definitely like up in there, right? One of the top ones. But, does that make us great? I don't know. But as you pointed out, like in terms of just like sharing my values, yeah, we're probably one of the top ones up there in terms of like progressive political values being in the public conversation. But my viewpoint has always kind of been that like civil rights cost money, basically. And I think, if you look at any random like super exploited country in the world, yeah, they might not have great civil rights. I might not have wanted to be born there, but I think there are a lot of countries whose pasts are less bloodstained than our own, or at least the bloodstains are, not every country engaged in extractive colonialism during the age of exploration. That's what I'm saying, basically. So like, and the fact that we are wealthy is pretty much because of that. So am I going to fault a country that maybe isn't as stable, maybe can't have those progressive rights as much just because they didn't colonize other countries? Like maybe they could have if they would have, like people are people.
Well, you kind of have to look at this question from right now. You can't look at the 200 years of American history, because if that were the case, you'd have to look at the
I think you do
4,000 years of Greek history, and you'd have to look at, I mean, these. Well,
that's what I'm saying. I think you have to consider the totality of history when you're looking at talking about anything, really.
We've had way less time to screw up.
Yeah, but we're beneficiaries and descendants from Britain.
Is that what you're saying?
So, I mean, I think our history extends beyond like the Declaration of Independence, right? Because we were a colony for a long time, and the people who came to that colony ultimately, like, they do have a history. The Puritans have a history. The other groups that came here have a history, even if it wasn't here.
Yeah, you don't feel that everything before the Declaration of Independence should be blamed on England and not on the U.S.?
I mean, I I think before that
It
we
becomes
were
a
part of
bit of a
England.
bag
So
of
I
snakes
think
to try to figure all that out. You know?
Yeah, well, exactly. That's why I'm having trouble with this question. I guess I'm going to take it probably in the intent it was meant and assume they mean like standard of living per capita, in which case, yeah, one of the greatest countries in the world, along with some others, mostly in Europe.
With an asterisk.
Yeah, big asterisk on this question for me.
I do play in and write the songs for a rock and roll band named Twisted Sister that is classified as heavy metal. And I pride myself on writing songs that are consistent with my above-mentioned beliefs. There are many facets to this complex issue, and time does not permit me to address all of them.